Hey there, Buns! I'm Lily, and it's time for an indie review. So, being that I've always had like a fondness for indie titles, like ever since I was little, and I love the way that small developers really like creatively push the medium in terms of like storytelling and how to really just use video games to create experiences. Like, because of that, because I've always loved that, I just want to start showcasing noteworthy games in the genre. So to start off this series, I would like to introduce you to Grace Bruxner's Frog Detective games, the first one being The Haunted Island, and the second one being The Case of the Invisible Wizard. Both titles are available on the Steam store and itch.io, both for $4.99 USD, and they're both worth every penny. This review is largely going to be spoiler free because I want to ensure that whoever watches this video, you will have no reason not to go and immediately play them after viewing. So with that, allow me to introduce you to Frog Detective's greatness.
With whimsical humor reminiscent of adolescent storytelling and a jazz track encapsulating the tone of a noir mystery, the Frog Detective games offer a refreshing absurdity, one that transports the player back to a much simpler and more imaginative time in their life. Both titles are short, under 2 hours of gameplay, but wildly humorous and perfect for anyone in need of a giggle or two. The first in the Frog Detective series is The Haunted Island, released November 22, 2018 on the Steam store. The player is immediately placed in a room with simple furnishings and a cute photograph referencing an earlier project of Bruxner's titled The Fish Market. The phone on the other side of the room rings, and our froggy detective is given the scoop on the latest case given to their agency. There's a sloth losing sleep on his island due to some alleged ghost activity, and it's up to you to solve the paranormal mystery. Once at the scene, the Frog Detective meets a variety of characters with unforgettable personalities and quirks, each one more preoccupied with their personal problems than with the case at large. Only by addressing their personal needs will the player be able to advance towards cracking the mystery, though talking to this cutely absurd cast of characters is easily the highlight of the experience. Released December 9th, 2019, The Case of the Invisible Wizard begins right where The Haunted Island left off, the agency supervisor entrusting yet another big case on our Frog Detective. Warlock Woods has a new resident, but someone has destroyed the welcome parade and the town needs you to figure out who done it. Much like the first in the series, each character met is quirky, mostly self-concerned, and insists at their innocence. You'll only be able to advance if you cater to each of the townsfolk's personal needs, but there's more fun in interacting with the residents than with actually solving the case, though getting to the bottom of things is also a delight. Gameplay in the Frog Detective series is quite simple, though not at all to its detriment. Both games are essentially point-and-click adventures that merely ask the player to enjoy the silliness in every line of dialogue Bruxner has written. In The Haunted Island, your only tool is the magnifying glass. Its only purpose is to create a fisheye effect on whatever you choose to look at through it. As you speak with every character on the island and begin to gather items for them, you'll see your inventory displayed in the top right corner of the screen. This is improved upon in The Case of the Invisible Wizard with the introduction of the notebook, which acts as a data log for the player as they gather clues in the sequel. Decorating the notebook also offers a small opportunity for customization in-game, an opportunity that I very much enjoyed during my first playthrough. The notebook isn't the only improvement on the original. The Case of the Invisible Wizard also offers multiple endings depending on the player's choice. While the player was given a choice at the end of The Haunted Island, this choice didn't affect the story in itself. I wouldn't call this a failing or even a downside to the first game by any stretch of the imagination. Rather, the inclusion of a second, optional ending in the second game improves on replayability and giving the player some control over the narrative. And without giving anything away, both endings fit in perfectly with the established narrative, so don't concern yourself with getting a true ending. For the player who enjoys achievement hunting, both games offer 6 Steam achievements each, and most of them are pretty difficult to miss on a normal playthrough. However, with the sequel's multiple endings, you will have to play at least twice in order to collect them all.
In regards to my personal enjoyment, I could gush for hours. I was a kid who really enjoyed the Frog and Toad books, which my great-grandmother owned. And, you know, she was just really goofy. Like, her her sense of humor was stuff like, you know, one year it was her birthday and we asked her how old she was and she said, "Oh honey, I'm older than dirt." So she always had a roundabout way of answering questions, just because she always liked to mess with people. And also, by the time I was 8 years old, I was writing and illustrating like these hand-bound novels. Like I would take paper and I'd fold it in half and I'd staple them all together and I'd write and illustrate these little stories. And in our 3rd grade classroom, we had in the back room this little library that was made, like this little library nook, and it was made with all these like short bookshelves, and they were placed in a way that there was like a little opening and it felt like its own little private library corner. And I would put these little like hand-bound books that I wrote and I'd put them back in that corner for other kids to read, and they always had the most like absurd plot that you would expect from a kid. So yeah, like all of that is to say that the way that Grace Bruxner writes Frog Detective, it really feels like scooping up all that nostalgia and re-experiencing all those warm feelings that I had, you know, in the moments when I did have warm feelings as a kid. Like it really brings back that feeling of like really feeling like there's so much to see and learn in the world, and that anything could happen and it's crazy and you haven't yet been jaded by society. So I don't know how she does it, but it really does take me back to that part of my childhood that honestly right now is so important.
Ultimately, these are not games I would recommend to someone looking for a challenge or for some deep, profound message. The Frog Detective series is not here to bludgeon its players with endless reminders of the scourge of humanity and existential dread. And honestly, can you imagine if they were? I'd play it. The charm of Frog Detective and his goofy peers is in the lighthearted comedy, for once being able to enjoy something innocently the way you did as a kid. I would say these games are perfect for when you need a distraction from all the anxiety-inducing parts of real life, or if you're with some pals and want to have a good time. Maybe try letting different people voice different characters. That could be some real heckin' fun.
So this video didn't turn out quite as long as I was expecting it to, and granted, these are both really short games, but I'm also trying this thing this year where I don't let my need for perfection get in the way of me creating content. I'm trying to be okay with making mediocre content and learning along the way. So this is kind of the beginning of that, where I'm making something and being okay with it being imperfect because I'm learning. So honestly, any feedback I get from videos like this is really, really appreciated, because I am self-teaching. I don't really know a lot about using cameras. I don't really know a lot about writing a script for a video. I don't know a lot about video editing, for that matter. So I think a lot of what's taken this video so long is that part of me has been trying to make everything perfect, even though I have no idea how to do that, and it's really been holding me back. So I'm letting myself make mediocre content. So that is the end of my review. If you liked what you saw and you want to see me review more indie titles, please hit the subscribe button down below, hit that like button, and leave me a comment letting me know what other indie titles I should play or review, or just talk to me about Frog Detective. Like, I'll talk to you about it all day long. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!